Yeah, so I guess this is where we're at now. I don't really know why I decided to pull the motor out of this car and start rebuilding it, but here we are. It's out. There was nothing wrong with it. It ran fine. I just figured it'd be time to actually go through this motor, give it a rebuild, refresh it, new bearings, new gaskets, all that stuff. Next year we want to make a little bit more power with this thing. As for right now, 1,000 horsepower is cool. 1,200 horsepower is cooler. We are also going to be doing a bit of a turbo upgrade to it, going from the 4508R that we have on here right now, 80 millimeter, good for about 1,200 horsepower, to the new G45 series, which is good for 1,500 horsepower. This is a G45 1,500 stainless turbine housing. Little step down on the compressor wheel. It's actually a 76 mil instead of an 80. But this turbo right here, 14% more efficient than that one. So we're talking more top end power, faster spool times, and with some changes to the housing, like this billet back plate here, less weight too. And if you compare them, it's a little bit smaller, more compact. Should be a decent upgrade. So let's talk about some of the changes we actually need to make to the engine while it's out. For starters, we are building a whole new turbo kit. Manifolds, crossover tube, wastegate dump routing, exhaust, all that stuff is getting redone. The only thing that's going to remain the same is the air-to-water intercooler is going to stay in it. And the overall setup of the way the turbo is going to kind of be clocked the same and in a similar position right there. Now, one benefit to the G45 over the GTX 4508R is the actual inlet housing. This part right here for the intake tube, this is 5 inches on the G45, where on the GTX it was 6 inches. Now, that might not sound like a lot, but that 1 inch difference it's a ton, especially when you're in a tight, compact space and need to make room for an air intake system. That's why my car always had that kind of funny panel filter in the front of it. It's because I actually had to make like a box filter intake, because routing a 6 inch tube, the radius on that makes it almost impossible to fit anything like that. 5 inch actually opens up a lot more doors for how to route an intake, so we're definitely going to be changing the intake setup on it as well. I kind of like the panel style I had on it, so I might just build something similar to that again, but it'll be a lot easier to build a flange setup for this, as to where for this I actually had to roll the flange for the intake to fit over that. Now, luckily, one of the things we already addressed earlier this year was the fuel system. We were having issues with the pump and tank setup that was on the car previously, so we upgraded to a radium setup that has 3 feed pumps and 1 lift pump, all being Walbro 450s. So fuel feed, we have that covered. Now, as for the injectors, earlier this year we did run into an injector issue as well, where the thousands were kind of falling off, either clogged up, sticking, not 100% sure what was going on there, but we had to get the injectors rebuilt. These 1000cc injectors have 1 event on them, and they work great, but always room for improvement, so we have a set of 1300s ready to go in this, just in case we need the extra fuel, or we decide to change fuel over to E85. I highly doubt that's going to happen, because I do not like E85 at all. Don't get me wrong, it's a great fuel. It's just not for me. It's not my thing. I don't like it. As for engine management, the Haltech system works great. The ECU Masters PDM works great. The AEM dash works great. The Motec keypad works great. Electronics on point. No need to change any of that stuff. I had a couple people ask if I was planning on doing any chassis modifications or other driveline modifications, like putting a quick change in it or something like that. Quick change, not even on the table, not even considering it. Dog box, that would be tight, except I don't have dog box money, so that's definitely not going to happen. As for the chassis, I mean, maybe we'll throw some more party lights on it. I don't know. It definitely needs a taillight, because I broke that. So yeah, as for the chassis, the setup of the car, that's basically already at the point where it's like, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Now, one thing is that on me this whole time? Okay, anyways, one of the things I definitely need to replace is this alternator. This thing's only charging at like 13 volts. Not exactly up to snuff. So we're gonna swap this alternator over with a better one. Possibly pick up a spare too, just because this thing was starting to fall off on voltage. Our data logs, when I pulled them, the highest voltage I ever got out of this thing was like 13.7, 13.8. That's even screaming it up at high RPM. So this alternator, not gonna hold up, especially with all the electronics we're running. 4 fuel pumps, 2 high amperage fans, electric power steering, all the coil packs, electric water pump. You know, there's so much electronics in this vehicle that this alternator, it just can't do it. So we're gonna have to look for something better on that as well. I'm gonna miss you, buddy. So as of now, the main game plan for the engine rebuild though is rod bearings, main bearings, cam bearings, full new gasket set, top to bottom. We need to do new piston rings, build a new turbo kit for it. I might build custom headers. I might do something similar to what I have here. I just need to make sure I add a little bit more flex into the next kit that I build and use stainless mounts for everything. That way they don't rust out and end up basically just looking like shit after a year or one day. Upgrade to the G45. 1300cc injectors, turn the boost up over 20 pounds and see what it makes. I'm like super excited to get started on this. This is something that's been needing to get done for a couple years now. Usually I'd go through and rebuild an engine every year, but for some reason I put this one off for about 3. So it's definitely time to go through this and freshen it up, turn the boost up, and make even more power than before. So I'm totally stoked. I can't wait to bring you guys along the journey with me of tearing this thing down and inspecting it and seeing how it actually held up, how everything looks, like the condition of everything. Compression and leak down numbers came back mint on this thing. They were matched right up to what it was when I built the engine, so I just can't wait to get it apart, see how it looks. Anyways guys, that's going to be it for this one. Just wanted to give you a little bit of a rundown of what the plan is for the motor, where we sit right now. Finances are a little bit tight, so you know, we gotta kind of see where we can go money-wise, but yeah, it's going to be it for this one. So like the video if you liked it. Subscribe to the channel if you're new. Follow the builds along. Till the next one. Catch you guys later. Don't talk to me or my son ever again.